let's invite all the panelists of the panel discussion, Dr. Avilasa Gaur, Colonel Shekhar, Professor Ambuj Gupta, and Dr. Manoj Sarambale. So before we begin, let us take a cue from what Siddharth presented, and also that it has been almost 1.5 hours since we had lunch, maybe some sleep induced. So let's ask some questions, simple ones. How many of you use WhatsApp? Right? How many of you use Facebook? No. There is a purpose why I am doing that. Raise your hands, all those who are using Facebook, or Instagram, or WhatsApp, or Netflix, or YouTube, or Uber, or Ola. Right? Why did I ask this thing? What is common between them? Okay, they are apps, okay, on the phone. One biggest thing that is, I think, very important for the theme of the session that we have, and there was a purpose why I asked this. All of these are actually 21st century products. All of them were conceived and made in 21st century. Further, other than Google, every other company that made this product was also born in 21st century. And we are only in 24th year of the century. What that means is that the rate of technology development in this century has intensified very significantly. And further, the rate of adoption of technology has intensified even further. A ChatGPT is made 2 years back and then becomes talk to the town. So we are living in a world where the upskilling and reskilling becomes absolutely important because rate of change that is happening all around us is truly outstanding, mesmerizing. That is why the topic that we have today, upskilling and reskilling for a sustainable future. Before we go around, maybe I'll take a seat there. I was using the time to do. One of the important things that we will follow in this panel discussion is the format will be something like this, that each of the panelists will have an opening remark. Then we will briefly discuss each of the panelists on what they think are the most important skills that are needed for today, where we have to have upskilling and reskilling. And in third part, we'll also talk about what is the best methodology that is possible or available before us to do that. Why this is important is the size and magnitude of the problem is huge. As our country advances to be a Viksit Bharat by 2047, we know there is an all-around development that is happening. There is a large number of workforce currently already in the field, which now has to be upskilled in order to make phenomenal contributions to the economy. And that is where this topic is extremely important. I am just reminded, because we talked about 21st century products, before I start, I am just reminded of one very important quotation by Toffler. And that goes something like this, that illiterates of the 21st century are not those who cannot read or write. Illiterates of the 21st century are not those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And therefore, in this whole 21st century, I think this is going to be the theme all around. With that as a starting point, I would request our panelists, as I take the seat, I request our panelists from Colonel Shekhar to start their opening remarks, and then we take it from there. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon to all of you, each and every one of you. I am from the military wearing a kurta pajama, so don't take me to be a politician, one. Second, normally as a moderator, I am given the graveyard session immediately after lunch. So now this is just before tea. Most people are interested in the snacks available. Taj has taken care of us very well. Thank you to Mr. Bhatia and the wonderful Nehas and Nishas. Please give them a round of applause. They have been following up A to Z in spite of the Mumbai rains. And some excellent speakers so far. Especially, I've learned a great deal from Miss Okal, and also Mr. Selvan scared me a great deal. But sir, Mr. Jain, you said that the armed forces, serving in the armed forces will be like a video game. Presently, I beg to differ, sir. I served. The Indian Army suffered me for 22 years. The civilian space has suffered me for 15 years. Yet, we are not ready for a video game army. We have a huge number of people to be required on ground. And the moment we talk about video games, then the mindset tends to change a lot more. Yeah, so I just, before I get into that, make some remarks in terms of how scared I was. Normally, I'm not scared. I'm scared only if I see a Pomeranian dog. Other than that, I'm comfortable. Second, when I come for a panel discussion where I'm the only one representing the school scenario, I always believe that even if Goddess Saraswati comes down to Mother Earth, she will refuse to be a school principal, despite Lord Brahma being the school director. It doesn't happen. It's much easier being a college vice chancellor or otherwise. There is nobody in the whole world, at least in India, who did not ask Indian schools to reduce fees. And there is nobody in the whole of India which told universities and colleges to reduce fees during COVID. That's why scary. Further, in the Indian milieu, male principals are rarer than the tiger species in India today. You go to any conference, you are dominated by women. So this time, my empathies are with her because we are four of us sitting here. Yeah. Couple of more things of interest. Indira Parikh ma'am wonderfully talked about mothers-in-law being so excited about their daughters-in-law getting it. She forgot fathers-in-law. Why? I live in a ladies' hostel. I have one wife, two daughters, mother-in-law, and 3-4 people. A small cricket team. If my son-in-law or my daughter-in-law gets an award, my wife, who herself is a school principal, questions me, because of you, I have not got any awards. Who will handle this? Nobody else. And before the upskilling thing comes up, it is my 35th year of marriage. The amount of upskilling and reskilling required for a sustainable marriage future is much more than anything Globe can give you. God bless you, sir. Over to you.
Dr. Avilasa.
It is so difficult to introduce myself now. So being minority here, so I represent Electronic Sector Skill Council of India, and we work closely with the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, as well as with Ministry of Electronics and IT. So as we do understand that the demographic dividend which the country have right now, and in the next almost 2 decades also what India will have, and once we are talking about once we'll complete 100 years of independence in 2047, and what kind of education, what we look forward for, I think it is a very, very difficult and a challenging scenario, because the way things are changing right now, to envisage something after what will happen after 15, 20 years, I think it is very, very difficult that ways. But yes, at Electronic Sector Skill Council of India, there is a bridge which happens that how academia with the foundation education, the kids are coming out, and what industries and corporates require from those kids. So we bridge that gap, and we have various short-term skilling programs for them. And in India now, there are a lot of reforms which have taken place in education after new education policy has come. And one of them is like National Skilling Qualification Framework is there in India. And we have something called NCRF, that is National Credit Framework. So in India now, we say that the complete education system can be mapped from level 1 to level 8. So level 1 is the people who can read or write or class 5 pass is a level 1. Level 2 is still class 8. Level 3 becomes class 10th. Level 4 becomes class 12th. And every year of UG, 3 years or 4 years, 0.5 will be added. So level 6 becomes a UG. MTech or a PG student becomes level 7. And then PhD and research becomes level 8. Also, just like it happens in another countries, and I do agree in India also, we have stopped visiting doctors, now telemedicines are taking it up, and we do get medicines at home and other things also, thanks to the various digital stacks and technologies which have come to India. So what we are doing is through NCRF, now every student who is pursuing education, now just like your Aadhaar ID, in February 2024, government has announced a APAR ID, that is your Academy Permanent Registry Account Number. So if I have done something in school and if I want to take admission in college, so I'll have a KYC of my academic records, and through that same one unique ID, I'll be able to go for the progression of education. What was happening if I've done a computer course or if I've done a course in AI, that every time I have to write in my CV. And sometimes it becomes difficult also that if I've done a course for, let's say, for 30 hours, 60 hours, how do I fit it into my CV? But now everything will go to my DigiLocker and to my APAR ID. So if I give my 12-digit ID to somebody, they'll be able to see that what is my academic record, what all I have done. So I think a lot of reforms are taking place, and I'm sure by the time we'll complete 100 years of independence, the Viksit Bharat, what we are envisaging, I'm sure everybody will contribute to it, and we'll have a better future and a better place to live. Thank you.
Very good afternoon to all of you. Let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Ambuj Gupta, Dean School of Management with Ajinkya D.Y. Patil University, Pune. So at our university, what we follow is that we promote T-shaped professionals. So T-shaped professional is where, there is a horizontal line at the top. That is where student is required to be conversant with the broadly different disciplines in different areas, like being a generalist of different areas. And then there is a vertical line which makes it T. So as a vertical line T, the student has to be specialist in some area also. Now coming back to the topic, and to the wonderful context being set by Professor Chaudhary, as I was also listening right from the morning, so the rapid change which has happened, like from Industry 3.0 and moving to Industry 4.0 and then now Industry 5.0, so this change has happened and it has taken, very few years. But on the other side, our education system could not gear up to match the needs of the industry. So that is definitely one issue which needs to be deliberated upon as to how our education system can match with the needs of the industry, can match with the pace of the technological revolution which is happening, to match with the various, the other dimensions of sustainability and ensuring a sustainable future. So on this context and on this ground, what my observation is that there is a disconnect. And the disconnect is also happening because education being a subsidized affair in India. And our educational institutions either you say their willingness and readiness, and also in terms of their readiness, not by the intent, but also in terms of their willingness to spend the money on new technologies and the other aspects, equipping students with the latest technological advancements and the latest educations, are still gearing up. I would not say that that is not happening, but with such a diverse country of 140 crores of people, still it has yet to go to every nook and corner. It's finding really very difficult and challenging. So our topic is, as it is to to be having a sustainable future, on the other side, what I feel is that besides sustainable future and for that sustainable education, the another important aspect is affordability of the education. Because education is not equally, the same kind of technological skills which are required, the upskilling which is required, or reskilling which is required. The accessibility and affordability is not available to everyone. That is another bigger challenge which is there. So, I think concerted efforts are required in this direction. And when, there are the gaps that our own education system is not able to gear up to those levels, of course the benefit goes to the third party. The third party is, various edtech platforms and, are coming up and they are offering very good propositions because those are the startups and edtech platforms which are able to take advantage of this gap and they are able to build up their own capabilities and, and it is a bit commercialized on the other side, which again, not being accessible and affordable to everyone. So there is a dire need to think about these challenges and what I think is that collaboration and co-creation could be the key. So there is a need to have more collaborations, more co-creations. Everybody has to work together. All stakeholders have to come together and to think about it. And another, I will not take much time, but another important dimension which I was just thinking is of the faculty training. Because everybody like, edtech startups, they're all thinking about the students, but they're not thinking about the, teachers, about the faculty. So if you you want to build a sustainable future, if you want to upskill and reskill the future workforce, first you think about upskilling and reskilling the teachers and the faculty and the professors. Because those are the people who are in turn going to pass upon the same to their students. So with this note, I end up here. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Manoj Tarambule. I am from Pune, principal of one of the reputed old institute, Pune Vidyarthi Gruha College of Engineering and Technology. This topic on which we are discussing, skilling and particularly upskilling. So these words for me, it is for making ourselves sellable horse in the market. If you stop, you will be outdated. You will be thrown away. I always compare my cousins from village and a city like Pune I am serving. 24 hours tension I am carrying throughout to maintain my status by making investment on rescaling and upscaling. And my cousins from the village, they are enjoying like anything. Even if flood is more, they will get compensated. If drought is there, they will get compensated. If I lose my job, no one will compensate. And definitely I am contributing to my society. More. Why? Because the technology has to be there. One thing when I see this, so one very interesting part is there. So there are so many classes available, subjects available. That is nothing but skill set and all these words. These are very famous. I don't know. These are like mushroom for me. Daily some new topic will come in the market and we have to chase that part. Okay. But one thing for me, for which I am seeing my student, I always see that whether their hand skills are increasing. So skilling for me is nothing but improving their hand skill. I know and I can. The subject, if you teaching your student, they know the subject. But if you make them to do practice on that subject by making a small project, implementation, problem solving, then it will be converted to I can. So any topic, so then if the student can do by their hand, so I think this is nothing but a skill set which will get generated. For me, Upskilling is nothing but to maintain your condition, the topic which you are teaching, the work which you are carrying out, upgradation of that knowledge. Suppose I am basically an electrical engineer. So I used to do a designing by drawing a plotter, by plotting the, what we'll say, the designs of the machine on a paper. Now, upskilling for me is nothing but can I use software for drawing the same thing? I can use higher level software for improving performance of the machine. So this is coming as a upskilling. But after 50, 60, at the age of 40, 45, I will get bored. So I will think, I will leave my technology side, I will help my institute or some industry for betterness of human resource. So I have changed my face from technology to some other domain. And that is nothing but reskilling. So this has to be there in life, and worldwide reports are there. There is a 5 patterns available in our what we'll say society. Our skilling set, these are there up to 22. So we have to learn this, learn that. Application will start from 22 to 35. We will be seasoned at the age of 35. Then we start losing interest in such type of things at the age of 40. 40 to 50, so we will do guidance, we will not do some sort of skilling. At the age 50, we start scaring, and at the age of 60, we are fed up. And after that, we say, no, anything will happen, so this will not matter me. So these are the stages in the life. Only thing is that upgrade yourself as far as possible to maintain your condition. So this is from my side, and that's why what we do, we prefer industry-oriented labs in our institute. So I'm proudly saying that during pandemic, we have set up 4 crore rupees lab through industry funding. Now that is a real skilling for my student instead of teaching them how the robot will work. You are getting it, but actually taking student to a robot, so that is nothing but the thing which India want, and that is nothing but skilling from my side. Thank you.
So before coming to the next topic, I know I did not introduce myself. I am the first Vice Chancellor of a central university called Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya. This is India's first university in the transportation and logistics sector to cover the railways, aviation sector, ports, shipping, waterways, roads, highways, all aspects of transportation logistics sector set up by the Parliament, Act of Parliament in 2022. The challenge before top universities or our universities is like this. 90% of our students possibly do the first degree, that is bachelor's degree. Not everybody does master's, not everybody does a PhD and so on, right? Student's career is like a marathon. They will work for 35, 40 years. On one hand, there is a focus that first job, placement, salaries. On other job, it is something like this, whether a student should run faster in the first 1 kilometer or first 100 meters. In that case, how he will complete the marathon of 42 kilometers and so on. And whether we are preparing students for the entire marathon or we are preparing students only to get the first job. If we are preparing students only to get a first job and the placement figures and that data, then the question of upskilling and reskilling becomes even more important, because when in the workforce, as the technology changes, either we learn new things and adapt to technologies, otherwise we will quickly become irrelevant and out of the market. Possibly at age of 30, 35, when we have responsibilities increasing on the family front or at the home front and so on, we will be out of the market because we have not invested in ourselves. So I want to ask this question within this room also. How many of us, we know that only when we can upgrade ourselves to latest technologies or latest trends in our respective areas, how many of us invested in our own growth? If we have not invested, then this is the time that we have to think what skill is needed that will take our career forward. We have to consciously invest in them. Identify what skill we need. If you have to enroll a part-time course, if you have to enroll an online course, if you have to do an executive training program at a top institute, or whatever it be. This is very important. And therefore, now I come to the next topic. In today's age, look at India. even for a sustainable future, significant investment is happening, whether in green hydrogen mission, whether it's a renewable energy mission, whether significant effort on infrastructure sector, all of railways, highways, everybody is having record infrastructure outlays currently, aviation sector, whichever you look at. And when this development is of the people, for the people, it has to be by qualified and skilled people. So where are those qualified and skilled people going to come from? And therefore my question, starting with Dr. Manoj, is what kind of skills that we must focus on, right? It cannot be everything in the world. There has to be some priority, there has to be some focus as India moves forward.
Innovative mindset is most important part. So instead of mugging, we should able to apply our knowledge to solve the problem. And I think NEP 2020 will focus on this. So I have visited so many countries, almost 22 countries, and visited so many universities. So they keep lecture less and practical more. Why? Because in lecture only staff should give guideline, and during their practical hand skill and implementation of the mindset will be tested. So this type of, if we adopt our educational structure and innovative mindset, everyone will have. So we should not say that you should not come to me. So this is not a bread and butter. Multidisciplinary approach is not there with us. No, all problems are multidisciplinary. Students, right from the age 6 to 15, 16, they are quite innovative. During that, if we allow them to express, when they are expressing, write down something, give some talent as per the student is there. So if we do this, then probably the problem will get solved. Yeah.
So the first point which I would like to say is, as rightly said by Professor Chaudhary, that investment is very much required, investment in education. We spend money on so many other things. We can spend money on clothes. We ensure that once in a week we eat out in the restaurant. We go out for, for various tourism and other things, but we never think of investing money on the education. So most important is this, that we should be ready to invest in the upskilling and reskilling. That is the first point. And second thing, what I would like to say is, again, as said by Professor Chaudhary, that a lot of development is happening. But on the ground level, the network chains have not been built around. Where right from the grassroots level of how the education has been conceptualized and delivered. So at the level of the student, does the student really understand what education I am getting, what kind of careers are open for me, how the development is taking place, how do my skills, what I am learning in the classroom is linked with my future career and the kind of development which is taking place, how do I fit into that career profile. So as earlier also I said, the lack of faculty training, our traditional education system is on the back foot because that has not been able to keep pace with the changes in the environment. So there is a need to build up a chain, the complete chain where right from the top level where all the development has been happening to the bottom or at the ground, that people understand what capabilities they need to build around and how they can find a better career in the future. So these are my two submissions. Thank you.
I think definitely technical and domain skills are important. And if I talk about electronics, let it be for IT hardware or consumer electronics, or when we talk about electric vehicles or drones, even for solar. So there are a lot of job opportunities which are coming up, and one has definitely, with their foundation degree, do these programs in their school or at college level also. Another thing which is very, very important, that yes, one has to be good with the technical and domain with all the technologies which are coming up. But as we know, the technology is changing almost every year now. So it is very, very important that we keep on reskilling and upskilling ourselves. And for that, one skill which is very, very important is this learning skill. So, I mean, I think since childhood, we have to tell the kids that learning is one which will never stop. Whereas in Indian households, we tell them, कि बस 10th pass कर लो and you'll have good marks in 10th, उसके बाद life is easy. And then once 12th comes, we said, oh, bus 12th karna hai, and then you are in college and then we are not asking you what you are doing. And once they are in college, then you just prepare for interview and your CAT, MAT or another GMAT entrance examination and your life is set. And once you get into a job, then the manager keeps on asking you that every year which new skills you are learning. So I think that one thing has to be changed, that mindset has to be changed, that learning skills, that one is ready to accept that if I am a human being, I am on this earth, then I have to keep on learning. And so that skill and that acceptance is very, very important. And once we are talking about digital skills, and we have a Digital India mission also, so where we say that either a 6-year-old or a 60-year-old person, I mean, nowadays if you see, they are able to navigate their things on a smartphone these days. So even while talking to somebody, I said that if we really want to make India progress, and we want to see that, and nobody can ignore these skills, let it be in the metropolitan cities or in the tier 2, tier 3 towns also nowadays. So digital skills, if we have to imbibe these skills, then let's change the ABCD. And when I say ABCD, I literally mean the ABCD, A for apple, B for boy, C for cat, D for dog. The way it started for the kids was that you were able to relate to those alphabets. You see these things around you and you are able to relate to them. But nowadays, if we talk about, it should be A for artificial intelligence, B for big data or Bluetooth, C for coding or cybersecurity, D for data analysis, I for IoT, S for sensors. And trust me, it will not be difficult for a teacher to tell a 3-year-old child in a pre-nursery school that what these technologies are. Reason is, they are already seeing these technologies that once you have to enter somewhere, the door opens. Once you put your hand under a tap, the water comes. Once you are speaking to Google Assistant or Alexa, so what is it? Only thing is we have to make the things easy for them. And once they'll have this mindset, okay, so maybe when we see that, okay, the STEM education has to be promoted. So just imagine nowadays when we are talking about, when the government is talking about that we should have the first wafer lab or the chips should be made in India, we really have to go and speak to the students even in class 11, 12th and colleges that what the government is talking about, the chips and wafers are not from Lay's. So that kind of understanding is required. So I think with technical and domain skills, the learning skills I think is very, very important. If we can take that thing, so definitely we'll be able to go ahead. Thank you.
Colonel Sekhar, specific input.
Yeah, I'll quickly cover that. I'm not going to speak longer. She talked about APAR, right? APAR in future, I'm imagining APAR being linked to Shaadi.com. If it links itself up, they'll say, if you are scoring below 70% or this much grade, don't apply for this Shaadi anyway. Yeah, more importantly, let's come quickly. He talked about Gati Shakti. He himself is the chancellor there. Are we going, Vice Chancellor, are we going fast enough? Firstly, there has been huge outlays on infrastructure, but is it qualitatively good enough? The last couple of months has not been good for the Indian infrastructure. That's the second one. Thirdly, 320 million students are going to school and college now, which is the population of the US. If they are entering school now in India at 100, what kind of jobs will they be looking at? And I'm covering them in just 6 or 7 points. Firstly, climate change. How will it impact us? 2, water. How much water is going to impact what we are going to do? 3, AI and technology. 4, which we have never covered, the huge unemployment India as a country would face. 5, the old age geriatric care which we have to look at as Ahead of us in 15 years, Kerala is already facing it. Health, obesity among students and people. 1 in 3 students in schools in India are obese or overweight. And lastly, socio-emotional cultural understanding. Do we have it, or do we have more of the divorces and challenges happening? I summarize it in one story. A teacher coming to a school, she has got her father-in-law and mother-in-law at home, 2 children. She has had a fight at home, the milk has not come. She comes to the school, she's a maths teacher. There is a student, Sachin, who has not done the maths homework in grade 5. The parents, doctors are fighting a bitter custody battle. Will that teacher be able to teach that student properly? Or will they be shouting at that maths student? If we do not tackle those ground level challenges of skills and skill behavior, and also stop having students scoring 101% in schools and colleges, we are going to have a challenge. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Colonel Shekhar. In the interest of time, we'll just conclude the discussion by 1 or 2 important things. First is in terms of the purpose of education, and I recently heard a famous quote, famously from one of the top professors in India, that what is education? And he told, education is something that we retain after we have forgotten everything that was taught in the class. Right? People who are successful are not successful only because they got high grades once upon a time in their life, but because they remained curious, because they had developed interpersonal skills, because they have problem-solving skills. Unless we focus on them, the true purpose of education is not served. The second and the last sentence I just want to say before concluding is by Mark Twain, and I really like it, that man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. And therefore, we have to learn, we have to read almost every day. Thank you.
Well, big round of applause to this panel.
Thanks everyone. on the
Thank
panel.
you so much.